So first up, extensibility. So I still remember when I did the first extensibility for Ucommerce. It was at Code Garden, the Umbraco developer conference, and I sort of knocked together a proof of concept just to see if we could, and we could. So that was nice. We lived with that for a long time, and then we built a new back office for version 8, I believe, and extensibility went to the wayside because we were focused on building the actual UIs. It took a long time to build up the condo UIs as they are known today. But I'm happy to tell you today that back office extensibility is back in its sort of initial form. There are many scenarios we can support within back office extensibility. So I'll just show you sort of the first iteration. What is it used for? Well, of course, if you have workflows that needs to be anchored within the e-commerce platform and we can't do it, that's what we use it for. We've seen, some pretty awesome things being built on older versions of Ucommerce, order management situations, advanced product editing scenarios, lots and lots of things, and some of it is back. And we want to hear from you what else you need, because there's so much more stuff we can do, and there will be upcoming releases with this as well. So to show you, let me navigate into the back office of Ucommerce. Right here, and as you can, what I've done here is I've loaded up a solution with a bunch of data, so many stores, many products, and things like that. So 30 stores, a few catalogs, 500,000 products, some orders, and things like that. So as you can tell, there is no CMS here. There is just Ucommerce, and it is a great way to run the platform as you're developing your headless solution. You just focus on this. The startup time is super snappy. As a developer, you don't wait around for everything to start up. Ucommerce just starts like that. So it's a really nice solution. UI extensibility. So where to start? Well, the first thing was we wanted to make sure that it was a little easier to figure out where you can hook in. So the first thing you can do, UI extensibility is always available. Just it's invisible right now. We want to make sure that it could indeed become visible. So you'll see here there's a new developer section here in the settings area that we can navigate into, and we can enable custom UI mode. This is really just to show where you can hook in. So as I do that, you'll notice the UI change. So this little dotted line at the top is an opportunity for a developer to hook in to the back end and to change the way things work here. Buttons, all sorts of things. You create a little web component that hooks into this particular placeholder here, and that web component is fed some information, and you can then start to do your thing. The way you do it is you build one thing, the web component. I can show you one really quickly. Well, I'll show you in a moment. And these placeholders are available throughout the platform. So as I navigate to the store menu here, you can see that there's an ability to hook into the store administration. You do the same thing for individual stores, for catalogs, for products, for orders, promotions, a bunch of other things. So one of the things I wanted to show you was how we hook into an area like this and what you can do. So I'll just, skip right to the conclusion and show you, right? So a pretty common extension is for the order editor. So when you look at an individual order here, just, maybe you want to add a print label button or whatever, something related to your workflow. And that's what I've done here. You'll notice I still have the placeholder here just to signify that I can hook in still, so I can actually add multiple things. And notice here, I have a web component running at the top, which is very simple. It's just a little bit of HTML and formatting and a little bit of logic. So what this does is it picks up information from the logbook here. So you can see how the web component can interact with the data on screen. And of course, your imaginations are much better than mine for this, but it's just to show, you can do more stuff here. So you can add in your buttons and things like that, and it's a great start. We're iterating more on it, but this is how it works. And the way you hook it in is you create a web component using JavaScript. Obviously, the back office here is a single page application today. It's built on Vue 3, so latest version of that. Very fast, as you can tell as I'm navigating through the system. And the way I do it is I just show you really quickly. Is I have a solution. This is the actual thing that's running. So what I did is I created a custom component, which is essentially two things. It's the little component that you just saw running right here. And that's basically it, right? So I'm not going to bore you with what it is, but it's just a bunch of JavaScript that gets in there and does its thing. To register it, I created a little helper thing here, which goes in and registers this particular component, so you can see how it targets that key that we have right here. So that's why we have them, to make it easier for you to find out where to hook in. And once that's done, you register it right here in Program CS, and you're off to the races. So it doesn't take a lot of ceremony to get here, and you have this power, in many, many areas of the platform, and there will be more in the future. So quite a cool little thing. Let's jump back to the presentation so you can see the next bit here, which is another area of extensibility. This is something that's also, when the developers on the product team showed me this, I was blown away, to be honest. They did an amazing job on this, and I think you're really going to like what I'll show you. The idea with discounts and extensibility is that discounts have always been notoriously difficult to create a catch-all that works for everybody, because lots of companies has their own little idea of how some discounts should work. So you can ship a common core, buy this product or that product, buy a certain quantity and things like that, and then you're sort of very quickly faced with a diminishing return on investment as a platform vendor, because you can't target all those specialized scenarios. And that's where extensibility comes in. And what the guys did is just amazing. So what they did is Ucommerce has this definition system that enables you to attach fields and things to products and categories and things like that. And what they did is they implemented that for discounts, essentially. And so for those of you who are familiar with the definition system, you'll probably have a bit of an idea of what that means. But it basically translates to a ton of flexibility within the promotion engine. And I'll show you what it could be. So let's dive into that. So I'll go back here. I'll go back to the promotions editor. I think I'll disable the custom UI here thing. It's just like a helper thing, so we don't want any confusion there. So this is the promotion engine of Ucommerce. There are still campaigns, there are still discounts, there are still rules, criteria, and all that. And of course, you can reorder and things. We won't spend any time on that, but it's a promotion engine. Now, what's cool here is that I've created in advance one called Buy Not More Than, and the idea here is that I wanted to add a completely new rule into the platform that we don't know about. And so out of the box, we have a bunch of rules. Some will be familiar, but at the bottom here, I've added a buy at most rule, which is like the reverse buy at least rule, as an example. What's cool about it is it does not ship with Ucommerce. It's something I added after the fact. What's even cooler is the way I did it. So I'll show you in a moment. So you'll notice here that it acts exactly like any other criterion within Ucommerce. You can edit some data here. You can select whether to target an order line or an order. This will be familiar from our quantity target, the buy at least target, because it is in fact the same editors in play here. So how can we do this? Well, basically, by adding another definition to Ucommerce called buy at most and specifying I want a max amount and a target order line of a certain property editor type, it pops up automatically. So let's take a look at how that was done. So I will find the code here, and you'll notice I have some extensions over here, so you can actually package these things up quite nicely. So I've done two different ones that we'll look at. We'll look at the first one here, so the buy at most, a new rule. What I started out with was I needed to set up that definition in Ucommerce Next Gen. That is all code driven. It's code first. And so what I've done is I've used a standard .NET capability of a background service to enable me to do that, right? So this is something that comes out of the box with .NET 8, and we're just leveraging that essentially. I won't bore you with all the code, but it essentially just sets up those fields. So you'll notice here the max amount. You'll notice here the target order line, which was the UI I was using before. And then finally, we create a new definition using Entity Framework, so another familiar tool for .NET Developer. We're no longer using in Hibernate. With that, I can register it within my program here. So you can see I've sort of just added inside my program CS file a little notification that this extension exists and it should be brought into Ucommerce. And that is essentially what enables me to do this, right? No other code than that. So basically just a definition there. So now the question becomes, how do you tackle the logic around it, right? Because somebody's going to have to look at these values, compare them to the card, and make sure that you can actually go ahead and trigger the rule or not, right? So there's a second piece to this, which is a pipeline. So you'll notice here that I have a pipeline task, which will also be familiar. One of the really cool things about Next Gen is the fact that, well, let me take a step back. A lot of developers love pipelines when it comes to Ucommerce. And one of the requests we got over the years was, can we have more pipelines? Can we do this or that? And with Next Gen, we just went all in with pipelines and said, well, sure, let's base most of the platform on pipelines. So the promotion engine that is evaluating all those rules is in fact a set of pipelines that we can hook into, which is kind of neat, because when we need to add new capabilities like what we're doing now, it's basically just a pipeline task. So let me show you. So you can see here, basically just input output, which will be familiar, and then an execute method which holds that logic, right? And what it does is it basically goes in and looks, did we target an order line? Did we target an order? Are we actually hitting those integer values? And that's basically it, right? And again, when I register it, it just comes in with my thing here. It actually registers two things, so you can see here how that's done. It adds the ability to set up the data, and it adds that new pipeline into the promotion. Existing promotion logic, and that enables us to create a buy at most target, or any target really, as long as we're using the existing editors that come out of the box. We are investing more in this, so there will be some news on this very soon. But this, to begin with, I just think that it's a beautiful design. It is so nice that it fits within the overall idea of some of the other systems that comprise Ucommerce. So it's kind of neat. I wanted to show you another thing, because we do have, out of the box criteria, and that sometimes, maybe you want to change them, right? So promo code, you can still generate promo codes like before, right? And, great. So one question I've sort of had come up again and again by customers is, can we make sure the same customer uses the promo code only once? And the answer was always, sure, you just generate unique promo codes like I just did, send that promo code to the customer, and only one-time use. Of course, you can't guarantee that it's that particular user that uses it, but it sort of gets the job done in most cases. Now, the question then that arose is then, what if I don't want to do that? What if I want to do, say, a fixed promo code, like this one, summer 100, right? You see that a lot. You give it like a reuse number, so it can be used 10,000 times. But how do you ensure that only one customer uses it one time? Out of the box, the only way to do that with Ucommerce in the old days and now was by creating unique codes. But if you want this, there is actually a very simple way of leveraging the extensibility I just showed you to override the logic of the existing rules in here. So let me show you how that works. So let's close this. So you'll notice I have another one here called unique promo code per email, right? And you can probably imagine what it looks like. I can actually go in and set up additional definition fields for existing promotions as well. So I can add another like checkbox to the right here to the existing rule, right? So it would pop up down here. You could just check that unique per customer, something like that. And then you need to override the logic. So I won't show you how to set up the data. We already saw that. But I'll show you how to override the existing logic. So what I'm doing here is I'm inheriting from the existing rule that we ship out of the box. And we override the execute method just like before. And we sort of just dovetailed a little piece of extra information in we want, right? So as the first one, I created a little method to check whether the email, so I'm assuming, email will be the uniquely identifying trait of a customer. So we just check, did the customer in fact leverage a promo code from this batch before? If the answer is yes, we just stop execution and we're done. But if the answer is no, we just check the promo code and see if it's actually true. So if it exists, right? So we're just using the out-of-the-box logic. So there's really just, a couple of lines of code here. Of course, checking the uniqueness of a customer can get a little more involved, but, that's not really the point here. The point is you can, right? And the cool thing is that using the registration system in Microsoft DI, I can go in and remove the existing criterion here. So remove the old code and then add in the new code to take over. And it's a pipeline like everything else. So you don't have to learn different things. You just use what's out of the box. And I think that is very, very cool and a testament to the new design that the product team did. It's just really, really nice to work with. And there is a way, not 100 different ways. All right, so that's extensibility. As I mentioned before, we are investing more in this area, so we are not done. We will continue to ship updates for it. But for now, this is what you can do. You can support a bunch of custom scenarios like that.